Hello everyone, welcome to The Green Man for another video in my favourite shoegaze and dream pop album series. And this time round I'm going back to 1991 for the debut album of who are considered, I think, as one of the pioneers of the shoegaze movement. That is the band Slowdive, with their debut album Just for a Day, which came out that year via Creation Records. Now, Slowdive and shoegaze almost seem like, to anyone who knows of Slowdive and knows of their music, almost synonymous. They almost go hand in hand. And along with bands like My Bloody Valentine and Ride, these are kind of bands which are considered very much as forerunners or leaders of that musical movement, with music which is thought of, as being super dreamy, soft vocals, lots of rich guitar textures and sounds, which emphasises sonic, the sonic aspects of the music, perhaps quite often more than just the lyrics. And so you get these albums which are really interesting to listen to, from perhaps almost a production, or if you just want that kind of nostalgic, almost really dreamy feeling to your music, then you would enjoy this type of album. And I've chosen Just for a Day rather than Souvlaki here. Souvlaki is perhaps the ultimate favourite of a lot of Slowdive fans' albums. For me, Just for a Day just has something quite sort of really a lovely flow to it. I feel like it's a lovely flow to this album. It's really quite raw in the sense that you can feel just how kind of emotional it feels, and it's kind of underneath all the sound of this album. It's kind of, you've got Neil Halstead's really dreary vocals alongside Rachel Goswell's nice soft vocals as well, and together the pair with the instrumentation, all kind of washing up those vocals within its sound, so it all kind of sounds like one big wholesome sound that you get with this record. It all comes together pretty well. I have out of the tracks on this album, and in fact I would recommend checking out the reissue of this album in 2005. There are a few awesome tracks on that version as well. May I make a special reference to one of my favourite songs, which is Avalon 2, which is kind of more atmospheric instrumental track, but I adore that one. Anyway, I'm talking about the original issue in today's video and my favourite tracks on that album, and I will I'll bring up the album on my library now just to remind myself of some of those. But in particular, Celia's Dream is one that comes immediately to mind. It's one of my favourites. Waves is a fantastic song. That one is quite lyrically not too complicated, quite a simple song lyrically, but it evokes the imagery that I think Neil Halstead was probably going for, and it's just a really epic kind of shoegaze song with just so much. It feels like it's really quite an emotional song as well, sharing that moment with you of being close to waves. And there's other tracks on here I enjoy, like Eric's song's a really good one. Primal's a good closer to this album. Catch the Breeze, I think, was one of the singles that I also really like too, with a wonderful bridge section. I like my bridge sections, and particularly like them in Catch the Breeze as well. So Just for a Day, for me, yes, it was their debut album. It was perhaps maybe not as polished or as some of their later albums, but it just really hammers home the feel of a kind of classic early 90s shoegazy type album. And when I think of shoegaze, or if I was going to define it to someone, I might just show them this album and say, this is what shoegaze sounds like. It's pretty much kind of what's on this album, really. And yeah, I've been back to it quite a few times since my first listen. I'd say it's hard for me I chose this over Souvlaki, perhaps because Souvlaki gets all the plaudits, and I do really like Souvlaki as well, but Just for a Day, I thought, I really like. I think it's perhaps a little underrated in their discography, although they don't have many albums. They've got some EPs as well, but Just for a Day is definitely one of my favourites. So anyway, finishing this off now, that was Just for a Day by Slowdive. Check it out if you're not familiar with Slowdive. Give it a chance. If you're not familiar with shoegaze, see whether or not it's your kind of thing. I think people generally will, I would say, love or hate, but I mean, perhaps you'd be indifferent to it. But I've always just quite liked this style of music. It kind of makes me feel so nostalgic, and it's just good to drift away to. It's the kind of music that if you just want some quiet time with, and you don't necessarily want something that's super high and energetic, you just want something that's a bit more calming and reflective, then Shoegaze always does that job pretty well for my money. Anyway, I'm going to leave things there. As ever, if you enjoyed this this review of this classic Shoegaze album, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I will be doing other videos on Shoegaze and Dreampop albums, although I cover a lot as well on heavy metal and hard rock albums, and try and do weekly reviews wherever I can. Also cover sci-fi, fantasy and horror movies in particular. So enjoy the rest of what's left of your evenings. Otherwise, everybody, take care till next time.